Don't see them. Please sit down. She thinks I will ask her for a loan. I want. This is baby Martin. Please sit down. That's my sister's daughter. This one here is a very precious nephew of mine. He's the son of my late brother, Professor Nyongo. His brother Kwame just played here. He's the youngest son of Nyongo. He's called Dr. Omondi Nyongo, and his wife Heather. They live in San Francisco. Thank you very much. I'd like you to stay because I want to say something later. This is my niece. She is the daughter, the youngest daughter of Professor Nyongo. What's your name again? Because I know her as Boo. Isis Amondi. You know her as Boo, so I remember her name. Isis is a computer whiz. She's known in the financial world. Thank you so much. And her husband, Chris Jefferson. Please sit down. This is one of our daughters, Esperanza Wamoni. Where's her husband, the Tanzanian man? Oh, yes. She's going with her daughter, my grandchild. Esperanza is got an MBA in sports management. So any university looking for a sports manager, get this guy over there. This is called Amundi Mudone, the daughter of Susan. Who did you get? She's also a banker, sorry. Kwame is here with his wife Sonia. Sonia is a media person, makes films and all kinds of complicated things. Thank you very much, Kwame. Yeah, come here. This is our daughter Zawadi Nyongo. She's a social media whiskey. Thank you, Zawadi. And a yoga teacher, yes. She really knows yoga. This is the young lady that was the last daughter of my mom, Atieno. She's in high school now, just about to graduate from high school. A very brilliant young girl that my mom brought up. Thank you, man. Yeah. She's the youngest in the family now. This is Fiona, our daughter. She's also a banker, no, a human resources person. Now these are the boys you saw. Come together. This is Nyagois and Mark Block's kids. This is Johnny. This is Anam. Thank you very much. Yeah, okay. This is Susan's daughter, Atieno. Atieno is accountant. Yeah, those are people I don't know usually because. Atis, how are you? This is Juliana's daughter. She's a doctor. Thank you very much, Juliana. No, Atis. Sorry. This is called Onyango. Onyango the square. Onyango is Susan and Joe's son. It's a geothermal development company. This is his wife, Alice. It's a professional banker also. Marketer. Thank you very much. I don't know why I don't have money. This is Toto. Some there, he works in the NHIF, ensuring all your lives, and they are kids. And this is Sam there. Thank you very much. And it is, come. This is Amondi Lupita Nyongo. Thank you very much. And this is a Toti, Sandra Mudone. Thank you very much, Sandra. So, now, before I say anything, I'd like my nephew, since he traveled all the way from San Francisco, just say something, because this nephew of mine is very special to the family. He's a doctor and he's a very generous doctor. He treats everybody in this state. His specialty is pediatric ophthalmology. That's a very tough science, but let's say something you said.
Thank you, Your Excellency, President Kenyatta, Right Honorable Madenga, and everybody here. I'm going to share with you something not medical at all today. Many years ago, there was a magical place in the world, right here, where the thirsty moon drank water from the borehole of a bottomless sky. One could get there by train from Nairobi. We were the lunatic laughing grandchildren on that train to Kisumu. We played pranks on second-class travelers who would read the Daily Nation. We knew they only pretended to be serious because the newspaper was 2 weeks old. We were the lunatics on a train that was not express whatsoever, but we swore chug for days and for nights until finally one heard the whistle blow at Kisumu Station. At Kisumu Station, different people we never knew welcomed us with small bags of njugu or peanuts. They all said they were our aunties or our uncles. They shook our small hands until we smiled back at their super white teeth and said, "Nade maberbak." We noticed that they also had big gaps in their teeth, just like we did, even though we were children and they were grown-ups. We did not flinch in the blazing hot Nyanza sun as we scrambled into the way back of an ancient Peugeot station wagon, desperate to get home to Rata. The Peugeot pulled slower and slower as it maneuvered many deep holes in the road from Kisumu to Rata through Maseno, and it had harrowing cliff-like ditches on the side as it narrowed on that road. We marveled at these holes with our hands over the sills of the windows of that Peugeot station wagon, but we were unstoppable on our way home to meet Grandma. Reaching Rata, the path wide enough for a bicycle only, the tough Peugeot was a true African and songa mbele until it turned the final bend and with its broken headlights pointed at the green gates of Dala. All our bodies were half hanging out the windows and we tumbled completely out as we hurled through the magic green gates to Dala to find Grandpa and Grandma. We knew we would find Grandpa sitting in his big chair drinking tea in the living room. But the silhouette that stood like Kitnikai on the big green law beyond the green gate was Grandma. Dina, her neighbor, told us that when we reached Kitmikai, Grandma sensed that the wind was blowing us to her. The wind was bringing us home. Grandma's feet pressed into the grassy ground and her many-colored headscarf reached the sky and touched the moon. She clasped each of her two weathered hands around each of ours and shook us slowly, smiled, and said, "Ngima." We wanted so badly to show up the lure we had just learned, but could barely form the words with our tongues when we stared up at this mother who was so grand that she was as tall as all the way from the earth to the sky over our heads. Grandma walked us to her shamba behind the house. On the way there, she cautioned us to avoid the donkeys, each of whom she had given a biblical name. The shamba had yummy groundnuts in the ground and yellow maize waving in the air. Before Grandma picked the fat maize we wanted for roasting, and not for Nyongo, much to her chagrin, she led us up the path where we could see over a beautiful valley, and we asked Grandma, "Where is Lake Victoria?" She bent over, peered into our eyes, until she caught all of our attention, then slowly turned our gaze with hers into the distance. She pointed at a blue sliver of water between the blue sky and the white cloudy ground that bent up to that sky, and she said, "There also is Gotramogi." After a bellyful of roasted maize, fish groundnuts, and avoiding the matumbo in the soup, we slept in Grandma's house and dreamed of Lake Victoria, of the next day's adventures. The next morning, when Grandma had left for the market, we unhitched Grandma's donkeys with Ouma, Amodimatin, and the others, and we tied them to a donkey cart and we bounced around in that cart as we drove speeding through the big green gates, all the way down to the market. We sailed down the windy path with no certain destination. We stretched our arms out and our fingers brushed the endless white, orange, and blue flowers on the path, and they fell and covered that path in our wake. We left a trail of naughty happiness all the way down to Rata Market. The alarmed villagers called Grandma from her dukkha, and she emerged with more peanuts for us, telling us to go home. Until this day, that was the most fun we have ever had in our lives. For many days we played and many nights we lay under Grandma's sky. Her eyes were watchful stars as we mapped the nooks and crannies on the paths of Dala. And her piercing mind's eye saw that the greatest of human values, is when a child trusts somebody. You can go somewhere on that. We grandchildren tugged at her, told her what we wanted. She gave it to us, but set limits. She was the sun and the moon, spotting her light on our paths, only where they should shine. Her holding hands illuminated our passage out of Rata and into a future that we were destined for. She showed us, each 35 grandchildren, our way to unbelievable destinies. Many moons later, the earth quaked one night while her grandchildren slept around the world. I lifted my window and looked up to the setting sky. The crescent moon was a parched tusk, drinking its last drops from the borehole of a constellation over Rata. Carrying eye drops, I traveled across the world to see Grandma. Grandma now sat in Grandpa's big chair. Her eye was dull and pale and collected no light. She reached with her hands to feel for my face in order to know me. Tears filled my own eyes, blinding me in grief. I could not stop her sight as it fled. I was so afraid for Grandma. I was afraid she would lose her independence and her freedom to stand from ground to sky. And Grandma watched me with a mournful eye. She had lost all her power and strength, but she did not cry. Instead, she smiled and said, "Oyaware." Her face beamed and the room like glinted off her many-colored scarf. I was astonished. I knew so many people who bang their fists and sob when they lose their eyesight. But Grandma's heart beat with a love and a joy that glowed brighter than the waning moon. A joy that rang so loud around Rata that it beckoned the Rata church ladies, and suddenly the Rata church ladies marched into her living room like a Nomio Luo mission, clad in bright blue and white regalia. They surrounded Grandma and reflected her joy in shattering song when they sang, "Parts of us will eventually die, old or young. So find your vision now to know what you may become." And their deafening cry dusted off my mind's eye. To have sight is to be able to merely see what is right there in front of you, but vision connotes something different that we all feel when we hear the word vision. To have vision is to see what is not yet there. To have a vision is to apprehend that which may be or that which may become. And Grandma, unable to cling to that which eyes no longer bring, her heart unshaken, awakened us to everything we could be. Today we grandchildren played music and sang for you. No doubt some of you are wearing white and others are clad in blue. When you hear us perform, you will hear a certain poignancy. We sing of something utterly devastating. Our moon is now but a hard ornament, suspended in the lifeless sky. Yet the moon's grandchildren, we are joyful in our lament. This is the stuff of the blues. You cannot have anything unless we're able to lose everything. Because we could never keep Grandma forever, it feels good to have had her for the little while. And we are only able to have her now because we've let her go. Grandma, in the darkness of this passing night, we will not leave your moonlight. In this cathedral of all the saints regal, your life, like a many-colored glass, shall sustain in the white radiance of eternity. By your grandchildren and our children's children, your love will last not only in our time, but for all time. There is a place right here where the ground meets the sky. The time has come for us to carry you home. The path to Dala is covered in lavender and flowers blue that our hands spilled there for you long ago from chariots that never tire or slow. And we will heave the green gates open in one final tow as we carry you. May the ground we rest you in always bend as you reach Victoria's blue-lit glens, bound only by that horizon with no end. Pero kumano, Grandma.